Thank you so much for joining the Janus Oasis. I'm Nola Simon, I'm the host. And today joining us is Felipe Cofino, and he is the VP of HR and Talent Acquisition for Signal Financial in the DC area. And he also serves as a LinkedIn trainer and executive coach. Did I miss anything there, Felipe? Was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I really am passionate about helping people find jobs in my company and outside the company. So career and LinkedIn coaching and executive coaching has definitely been a huge passion of mine to help people find the right jobs and the right career in the right company.
Perfect. And Felipe and I actually, this is the first time we've actually interacted. Like we have Zoom right now. So this is the first time I've actually seen him. We've actually only interacted on LinkedIn audio rooms, which is brand new. And so it's fascinating. But it's one thing that he said to me was you can really tell the passion that you have for helping people. And that was actually something that nobody else has actually said to me out of all of the videos I've ever done, out of any of the LinkedIn lives I've done. It's only when we actually introduced LinkedIn audio that I actually got that type of feedback. And he's a very generous person. There's that. But so you've been using Clubhouse way before LinkedIn. So how have you actually strategically used social media to really amplify your mission as a VP to hire people and to build culture in your company?
That's a great question, Nola. When social audio came out, obviously it came out like right before the pandemic, and it ended up being, I think, a great help for a lot of people for mental reasons, personal, business, job seekers, everybody. And so when I joined it, it was one of those things where I started joining some rooms where it was really for job seekers and just helping them with some tips about resumes, interviews, and LinkedIn profiles. That's where it started. And then it started growing into seeing opportunities to find candidates too for the company for openings, but also promoting my company and the culture that we have. And so I started seeing the opportunity to connect, build relationships, help people, and also brand the company. So there's so much because on regular platforms of social media, you get a lot of different visual and text type of content. But when you hear someone's voice, it's so powerful. And you can tell, wow, they love what they're talking about. They love what their passion comes through, like you said. And so for me, that social audio, I just gave a little steroid shot to social media because you now are able to connect people at a whole different level. If you think about a phone conversation versus a text conversation, how many times have we miscommunicated over text? And if we just pick up the phone, it clears it all up and we're not misunderstanding each other. So I think that's been huge. And then growing in from Clubhouse, that gave me the skills and the experience to do social audio rooms. So now LinkedIn audio, to me, it's like coming back home. This is my platform of choice. This is where I have the biggest network and where job seekers I work with to help them find jobs at our company or in other companies. And it's my passion. Out of all my things I've done in my career, helping people find jobs was the thing that I'm like, this is what I love doing. And I think I'm really good at it. So I'm going to keep on focusing on this. And social audio has really helped me do that.
Very cool. And I like LinkedIn audio just because, as you say, that it feels like home. You have access to the profiles. You can look at who's actually joining the rooms and see who else they're connected to. And it's instant, right? So you can follow. I've done two or three LinkedIn audio rooms now. And like every room that I join, I automatically gain like 5 to 10 followers. And the first one I actually joined, I was actually interviewed by somebody who's actually writing a master's thesis on community. And she asked me to comment and help her write her thesis, which happened to be due that week. I was like, okay, sure. But it's an opportunity. Opportunities come out of audio that seem to be much faster than any other way. So I find it
Absolutely.
fascinating. And
No,
the power of voice is really why I started the podcast, but audio rooms are different.
absolutely. I think because you had a conversation with multiple people, and like you said, you're meeting so many different people, and the ones in the audience that maybe aren't on stage, you're not talking to them one on one like we are right now. They are still listening, and when they connect with you later on, I've met some amazing, fascinating people. I've hired some people from there. I've gotten some clients from there. One client was actually there was a woman who was on Social Audio Room. She reached out to her nephew and said, "Hey, why don't you reach out to Felipe?" Ended up being that I worked with him about 25 years ago. And so it was a very weird connection. He's like, I think I know him. But it was just amazing that, again, that social audio, people sometimes will pay more attention and you meet such fascinating people. You and I don't think ever, it would take a lot longer for you and I to connect like this if it wasn't for social audio. And like you said, when you're on LinkedIn, you can see the profiles right away. Clubhouse didn't have a link to LinkedIn. So that was one negative there for LinkedIn. But LinkedIn audio, like you said, you just touch the picture and boom, there's a profile. And you're right. After every call, I have so much more engagement, so much more people reaching out, and just the followers increase. So it's really people who are resonating with what you're saying, which is who you want to connect with.
Yeah, that's right. And people who really value what you're bringing with are going to engage more on an ongoing basis in all the other types of content that you produce as well too. So you have a really interesting setup with your company Signal Financial, because you lead their LinkedIn page, their business page, but you also have a YouTube channel where you actually highlight videos. I took a look, and like your CEO is on there poaching pears. How important is all of that to hiring people, to creating that culture, and how did that actually help you through the pandemic?
It's a great question, and it's a huge thing, and it's something that it just, like anything, like a culture, it takes time. We will always continue to be working on our culture and evolving it. It's never, oh, we've reached it, we're good. No, it's we are always looking at adding different people to our committee, our culture committee, to come up with new ideas. And the way this all started was when I first joined Signal, we started really trying to do some really innovative things, because a lot of us, including the CEO, joined around the same time. And he really wanted people that saw the value of building a strong culture internally, because that would translate into great service, great community outreach, and everything. And so as we started doing things like his innovation with our branches that were so different and unique, where you walk into our branches, there's no tower line. It's all open concept. I said, it's imagine if Starbucks and the Apple Store had a baby. That's what our new branches look like. We have a coffee, we have a little coffee shop. It's free. We don't charge. Cappuccinos, lattes, tea, whatever you want. And you can come in. We even have a ping pong table in one of our branches where people can engage. So the innovative ideas were there. The other innovative idea, to give you an idea of his thought process, was we have a mobile branch. This mobile branch is one of its kind. And it's on our YouTube video, and I'll get to the benefits of the YouTube with this, but it's so unique that it's a marketing billboard on the outside. It's a full functioning branch on the outside with an ATM, a computer and monitor to open accounts. We can instant issue a debit card on the spot if you lost your debit card. If you got approved for your car loan, we can print out your loan check. It also has a Jumbotron screen on top, but on the inside, most people are like, oh, it's an office. No, we gamified financial education. You go in there, it's the whole wall of the entire screen, entire wall of the truck from top to bottom and left to right is a video screen. And you enter in your name, the lights go down, the green signal lights go up, and questions start coming at you. And just financial spending questions and financial knowledge. And then you get a little avatar at the end with a little recap of how to do your spending and some things to improve your finances. So definitely engaging and fun. So I wanted to start highlighting that. I wanted to highlight all the innovative things that we're doing on LinkedIn and all the employee engagement. We were having fun. We were doing activities at work, working hard and playing hard. And when we did those things, it was like, we need to showcase this culture, because I want people to know, hey, this is a fun place to work at, but I can say whatever I want. It's another thing for people to see it. So being able to put some of that on YouTube. So what that's led to is we have playlists on our Signal Careers YouTube page, and has an orange logo, or our green one is more for the marketing side for the products and services. But the playlist has one, for example, Signal Chefs. Our employees during the pandemic wanted to share some dishes of their culture or dishes that they grew up with and how to make them. And so we started doing videos, and I would edit them for them, and we would put them on YouTube and share it with the company. And so many of the employees would try it. And so many employees would say, oh my God, I tried Alexis's chicken pork adobo, or I tried Francois's poached pears, or I tried Felipe's cinnamon roll pancakes. And so all these different dishes, from Larry made fried chicken and waffles with his daughter. And so I want to make pie with my mother and have her be on one of the videos. So we're trying to bring the family in. But the reason why we do that is, one, it's great for employees to learn about each other's cultures and learn how to make dishes, especially if you're a foodie. People love that. But also, when I'm talking about the company and saying, hey, we have fun, we're engaging, we share about each other's culture, I can direct them to that YouTube page and say, if you really want to see what I'm talking about and get a visual, check out the playlist. I always say go to the playlist, because if not, just so many videos to scroll through. But the playlist break it down with the innovation of our truck, the innovation of our branches, our Signal Chef videos, our Fun Friday videos where we were lip sync battling, our wellness challenge videos. We have a wellness challenge right now where we are doing team videos for extra points for our wellness program. And it allows people to collaborate remotely. Some people are going to the gym together to work out. Some people are doing it remotely, but they're getting healthier. And what's beautiful about this is that at the end of the challenge, so many people keep on doing the exercises that they were doing during the challenge and maintain it. And that's the ultimate goal, is to create that sustainable wellness activity ongoing, not just for that month of the challenge.
Right.
So
it helps you start the habit and nudge towards the habit. If you want to get into the whole James Clear thing, is like, how do you make it small enough and consistent? And that helps you maintain it afterwards, right?
And that way we can promote a fun workplace, a good wellness workplace, and a culture that works hard and plays hard and is growing and innovative.
So how important is it for you to have a stakeholder like your CEO who's really supportive of all of these initiatives that you take on social media? Because historically, financial institutions are really conservative. I come from a financial services background. You would have compliance at the yin yang. So how important has that been for you?
It's been huge, because obviously compliance is huge. And that's why earlier I mentioned there's certain things that marketing does for service and products, and other things that I do for employment branding. We always heard the phrase, it comes from the top, support, whatever it is. And his support has been phenomenal. And that's where any listening to this, when you have somebody that has a passion, a talent, tap into that, because when you tap into that talent and they want to apply it to their work, it's a win-win. And one thing my CEO always says is, but if you're going to fail fast, just don't keep on doing it if it's not working, but try and don't. And there's a few things I'm like, stop doing it. It didn't work. But when I told him I want to start doing videos, he's like, go, do you. I'm like, no, I want to promote the company. He's like, great, do that too. He totally is somebody who believes in helping people grow themselves personally and professionally, whether that's through education, through new skills, through whatever makes you happy. Because if you're personally happy at home in a personal life, it helps, and it's going to affect your work life as well. So when we get on LinkedIn Lives, I said, I want to start doing LinkedIn Lives, highlighting our employees and different people. So I started doing that recently. He has joined every single one, and he has always commented and shared comments and engaged and stayed on it for the whole thing. He didn't just pop on for 5 minutes. He stays on for the whole thing. And we're sitting there and talking about the subject right now, like I would be with another employee and saying, what are your thoughts about Signal? And they'd be talking about the CEO. And I'd be like, and here's proof. Our CEO has made already 3 comments in this conversation. So that encourages people to feel comfortable, speak up and say, hey, I want to try something new. They're not, oh no, he's going to slam it down like always. No, it's not. It's that if it's turned down, there's usually a reason saying, hey, you know what? That might not be the right time right now because we're trying to do this. But if you want to help out with this project in the meantime, he's open to it. He's one of those people that, now don't get me wrong, don't go to him and just start rambling ideas and throwing him at his face. Come to him with a well-thought idea, show him the benefits of it, the impact it will have, and why you think it might be beneficial to the company. Make sure it's a well-thought-out plan, because obviously, if I just run into him that has not worked, we're like, I have an idea, I want to do this and this, and he's, let me think about it. No, I don't know. But when I come to him with a well-presented idea, he knows I've thought about it and put some real time into it. He's so receptive to it. And that helps, again, everyone from encouraging people to come work there, seeing him talk about things on videos, to us internally feeling like we can go to him and he's real. He's somebody who creates the environment of the epitome of work hard, play hard. And
role modeling, really.
And he leads by example.
And you're seeing that with other executives that you work with too. You mentioned your CFO.
Oh, our CFO, Jonathan, he's somebody who, he's very supportive of people who are trying to better themselves, but also he respects people who try to help the company, even when it's not necessarily expected way of doing it through your job. HR isn't typically the one who's doing all these social media stuff, but he respects and appreciates it. So he's supportive. He has been on a LinkedIn audio that I did, and the LinkedIn audio wasn't tied to Signal. It was outside of Signal, but he joined it because it was about goal setting and he appreciated the topic. Even I've had some current employees and past employees join, and he always comments and likes on almost every post we do on social media, especially LinkedIn. So he really is somebody who sees the value, supports what we're trying to do. And he recognizes that, hey, you know what, that's not something that I'm going to be able to do or have time to do, but I respect the people that are trying to do it, so I'm going to support them. And our VP of IT, he saw the value of it. So he's become a huge fan of LinkedIn and been doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. And it's helped him build connections, find great business partners to help us with a new phone system or things of that sort. And so he definitely is somebody who has grown to appreciate the value of that. And that's trickled down through the credit union. So to have employees feel comfortable having HR being connected to them, I mean, usually people on LinkedIn might be looking for a job. They don't want HR being connected with them. I feel very fortunate that the staff trust me enough to know that I'm not wanting to be connected with them because I'm trying to keep an eye on them. I just want to be connected with them because I want them to see what we're putting out there and support it if they feel comfortable supporting it. And I want to support them and what they're doing on LinkedIn.
I actually interviewed somebody for the Janus Oasis earlier, and he really was talking about the importance of nurturing staff. Really, you want to invest in them, upskill them. So even when they leave, they're really dedicated to the company mission and the values. And my next interview, actually on Wednesday, is about somebody who actually creates alumni networks that really help filter benefits of the company even after you leave, because it becomes this whole networking thing, because employees recognize that it's a great place to work where you're going to be nurtured and it's above and beyond. Even once your role changes and you leave, you still have positive feelings towards that. And so to me, that seems like you're building that type of culture. And that's actually why I wanted to have you on, because it was a real life example to take the ideas that they were presenting and really make it concrete. And just even in the audio rooms, your passion for that nurturing was coming through.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's something that's important. I'm glad you said that, even people that leave the company, because that's something that if your culture is really that way and you truly believe it, you see it all the way until the end. Even if the person leaves the company, we don't get bitter. If people retire, first of all, we invite them back for events. So that's one thing. If people resign, we tell them, look, you're still part of the Signal family. And one of the reasons why it makes it a little bit easier to say that sometimes is they still bank with us. Now, if they take their banking elsewhere, that's fine. But we're still going to see them coming into the branches sometimes. And I always tell people, feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. Even sometimes I'll say, look, if you have an HR question and maybe your HR people aren't available or you don't have that relationship with them yet and you just want to ask some questions, feel free to reach out back out to me, because I want them to know that we appreciate what they did for us while they were here. They're leaving on respectful terms. Why burn that bridge? And it's one of those things where even people who have had to lose their jobs, if you do it respectfully and they give them chances and you try to help them, the old saying that people fire themselves, if you really do have the intent of trying to help people succeed and improve, not try to manage them out, if it doesn't work out, they recognize that you tried to help them. And in most cases, they're going to appreciate everything that you tried and realize a lot of times, it's funny, I've had people now actually recommend their friends to come work here, people who even lost their jobs because they've even said, it's a great place to work. It didn't work out for me, but that was my issue, but it's still a good place to work. That told me a lot. That blew my mind with the first time that happened. It's happened about 3 or 4 times now. And that tells me that we're doing something right, because for them still to say that it's a good place to work, even though it didn't work out for them. You want people that leave you, whether retire or resign, to be ambassadors for your company, ideally. And if you treat them with respect walking out, don't get bitter and mad at them for quitting. If they got a better opportunity somewhere, great. Sometimes grass isn't always greener, and they'll find that out for themselves.
And do you find that people come back? So the whole boomerang employee kind of thing?
It's funny that you say that, because our CEO was, when I first met him, he's like, I'm not a big fan of boomerangs. I was like, I can understand that if someone is trying to leave for more money and always looking for more money, they tend to not to be the best boomerangs. But I think that sometimes I told him, I go, it's changed. Think about nowadays, people in these generations are looking at it like a college major. They're shopping jobs like they would a major. You go to college, people change their majors multiple times. Sometimes they go back to the first one they chose because they realized that they were right the first time. Same thing with a job. People sometimes need to jump around to appreciate what a good culture looks like, because they didn't know until they try it. So he's opened his mind back. So we have hired some boomerangs back. There's been a couple where we've been like back and forth on, where he was like, I don't know. But he went from no to hiring one back, and they've done wonderful. And it was because of the case that they appreciated the culture. And it wasn't because, actually, one came back within 5 days. that was the record. That was the impressive one. But so we definitely have seen that. But we've been fortunate that through the pandemic, we've only lost one person due to the hybrid remote situation. And that was shocking. We were really pleased about that. But I think it's because we actually did a test before the pandemic hit, and had everyone do a day where we closed all the branches and everyone's going to work remotely to see if our core can handle everybody working remotely. So when we actually hit the pandemic hit, we actually already were comfortable working remotely, and the employees all had laptops. So it was that forward thought, that positive culture and that desire to help people succeed, not see them fail.
That future focus is really important. And I do a lot of future training as well. And what you can imagine, you can cope with. So a lot of times, if you're running scenarios, even if it's not necessarily something that you expect to happen immediately, you're pre-thinking how you might react and how you might manage your emotions and that uncertainty through it. So it's very wise to invest in that future type of scenario planning. So tell me
listen to your
about
employees.
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
perfect. Tell me about the hybrid remote. Like, you obviously are a credit union, so you do have frontline staff and you do have branches. So you obviously have a mix of in-person and remote, right?
Yes, we have frontline staffs in all our branches that are there 5 days a week. And then our back offices, we came back into the office back in July 2020, 1 day a week for all the employees, 2 days for all the execs. And we still are that way today. And it's been wonderful to be able to have that because we've proven that we've been able to be productive. We've finished all our projects on time or early in most cases, and we've stayed engaged. And part of it was staying engaged during the workday with videos on, obviously, and things like that. But the other thing was staying engaged with the culture that we had, that we created all this fun activities that we were doing. And we were playing dodgeball, basketball after work. We had happy hours after work. We were doing all these things in person, and then the pandemic hit. So we really worked hard to make sure that we kept that mentality in place. So we started off with happy hours, then we did some game nights. We did a home scavenger hunt and got the families involved. And that was a blast because that was something that they got added wellness bonus of running around and getting some steps in. And because they were like sweating after running around, finding all the different things for the scavenger hunt, but seeing the kids and their families get involved and have fun. And when one of the families won the prize, because we were giving away gift cards, the kids got more excited than the adults did. And so that kind of engagement. But what's beautiful about also is we have a culture committee that's made up of all different employees from all different positions, backgrounds, levels, experience. And the committee rotates and we have new people coming every year, but we always make decisions for everything that we do for our members, our employees, and the community from that committee. That really is like the steering committee, if you will, to make sure everyone gets the same volunteer, the same financial support, same marketing, the same everything consistently. And every year we try to up our game with our culture. And this year we're talking about cultural awareness. Like, what can we do to enhance cultural awareness? And I don't want to just talk about one culture per month. And they're like, well, why don't we talk about multiple cultures a month and multiple topics of interest per month? Instead of just doing Women's History Month, we did Women's History Month along with Scottish Heritage Month, along with whatever else was happening that month. In June, we had Pride Month, but we also recognize Loving Day, Juneteenth, Father's Day, a lot of the things that happen. This month in July, we're going a little bit different. We wanted to add some personal interest. So we are doing one person speaking about, and these are different employees that speak about these topics, not the same people. One's talking about the Civil Rights Act and Independence Day, but the other two, one's talking about National UFO Day. She's passionate about those. And we found out there was a lot of people in the credit union that had some level of belief at some level of something out there. And then the other two, which I'm excited about, it's National Video Game Day. So we have two women who are huge gamers. And I said, would you be willing to do a presentation and talk about it? And like, oh, we'll talk about the fun factor, the community factor. My best friend that I've known for my longest term friend, she said, for 15 years, I met gaming. Talking about the mental wellness factor and then the security and risk factor. So tying all that, so it tying into their passions. And there's so many other gamers out there that don't know that they were gamers that are going to connect with them. And so that, again, building those communities, because groups are great and they're important and they're needed. I think people sometimes think they have to be cultural. No, they don't always have to be. They can be of interest. We have fishing groups, we have book groups. Now we're going to have a gaming group. So those interests along with the cultural definitely add value.
And you're not even just working within your own company. You actually are part of the human resource roundtable for your actual geographical area too, right?
We have in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, we have more than 50, but there's about almost 50 in the roundtable. And we used to meet in person quarterly, and then the pandemic hit and we decided, let's try to meet virtually. And I kicked it off and have basically an agenda of topics of suggestions from everyone. And then we meet and we bring guest speakers, attorneys in there, but we all share different ideas. We all share best practices. We all like, oh, my team's coming back into the office now. Do y'all have any guidelines? I'm like, here's a playbook I created. Other institutions aren't going to share amongst each other, but credit unions we have that non-for-profit mentality. We have the same products and services as every bank out there. Biggest difference is that we are non-for-profit. We do have board of directors that are volunteers, they're not paid. So our focus is more towards the member. We do have to make a profit, obviously, but our focus is on the membership, and they're all owners, so they get dividends back every year. So that's really the benefit of there. But the group of the roundtable, what that does is it helps when you're feeling alone during the pandemic, when you're struggling, or you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can share and collaborate, and it's a wonderful feeling to know that you have somebody out there you can reach out to and share those best practices about what you're doing for your culture, what you're doing for your business, what you're doing for the community, or what are you doing in human resources recruiting. Obviously recruiting's been challenging, so sharing different ideas. I actually did a LinkedIn review training class with one of my peers at another credit union to show her what I do for recruiting and branding, because she wanted to do some of the things that I do. So it's that kind of collaboration that really is so much more beneficial. Don't get me wrong. We definitely compete against each other. Let me be really clear. We just had this call this past month during our meeting. We definitely compete against each other. However, we respect each other and know that, look, we may steal each other's employees and hire each other's employees sometimes, but we are not malicious about it, and we are not trying to hurt each other. It's just, at the end of the day, we all have to run our own businesses, but we know that it's all out of respect and fair.
Exactly. That's right. It's a commitment to community and the benefit of the industry if everybody is doing well, and sharing those ideas that are not like intellectual property, that are just skill building, is a great way to build that community. So that's fantastic. And I love the open source. And you see that honestly with a lot of remote companies, like GitLab, for example, is one of the companies that has created like that had a remote position. And they've created this whole open resource course about how to run remotely. And they've shared that playbook, and it's globally available. And they even have a free course on Coursera for that. So they're competing with other companies that do that type of work, but they've made that commitment to share that knowledge. And it's interesting to see it happen, even if it's not necessarily industry wide, completely available globally, but even at an industry level, that's admirable.
I'll be honest, our return to work playbook, in July 2020, when I was working on it, one of our board of directors mentioned that Tesla had a return to work playbook. I Googled it, looked at it, definitely was impressed with some of the things they had. So I had some takeaways from their playbook that I used. Obviously, the manufacturing part didn't come into play, but there were some really good ideas that they had implemented in there. And so I think when you look at other people that are being that thought leader or that forward future focused person or company, look at what they're doing, and you don't have to be different if they're doing the right thing. You can learn from them, and it's not, don't plagiarize, don't steal, obviously, but ideas and concepts, that's something that if they have a great concept to improve their business or their culture or their opportunity for growth, why not learn from somebody who's done it?
You don't have to recreate the wheel, and then you're going to tweak it anyway, just because your organization is going to be different, just in terms of size, the type of business that you're in, and the personalities that you work with. So it's,
you want to brand it, you want to customize it, you want to make your own, absolutely. But it's just, the telephone wasn't Apple's own idea. The telephone existed before. Android and all the other ones come out with different versions of it. It's just a smartphone was the idea, but the telephone already existed. So it wasn't like they had the brainstorm of that whole invention. And I think people just need to appreciate that it's okay to say, hi, that's a good idea. I respect that idea. I'm going to use that.
Well, it's that whole steal like an artist concept.
Just don't cross that fine line of plagiarism.
Exactly. Right. There are no brand new original ideas. It's really just something that existed that's being innovated.
How many reboots are there? Could there be any more reboots?
Well, honestly, did you see Top Gun Maverick yet?
That was so good. Oh my gosh. Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved that. That was one of the best ones done.
You know why? Because you got to see little pieces of how his life had really developed from the original. But the screenplay is very similar to the original. So it builds off what was already familiar and then adds in enough new to keep your interest. And that's really why it's genius, because quite honestly, a lot of it is really the original screenplay that's just being added to.
Exactly. I do like, you're right. He just a little twist to it on certain parts of the screenplay. You're right that were similar. I heard that he had a lot of the actors actually fly in the jets for real, and some of the video shots are them flying in the jets. I don't think they are actually personally flying them; they're just being flown. But that's, I think, giving that real life experience. You could tell that they were really into it. And you're right, the storyline, that nostalgic of the first one, you could feel it, and it felt like it just. And there was no slow parts. It just flowed consistently all the way through.
They had 30 years to get it. So, but honestly, the volleyball scene was the genius part, right?
My wife loves a volleyball
Oh yeah,
scene.
yeah, exactly. That's right. But it was funny because it moved him completely into that teacher mode and made him look like a genius. Solidified his ability to build that team.
And
right?
nurture and And that's things. Tap into the fun factor because people don't realize, oh, we don't have time for fun. Like sometimes building that team and those bonds are what make that work. And that's what makes you successful. And people don't realize we don't need to go through tragedy to create bonds. You can create bonds through fun. And that's something that when you have that relationship and you have those even friendships sometimes, people are going to work harder for each other and look out for each other. And that's what you want. You want that camaraderie so that your culture will thrive, your business will thrive, and the customers will see it too.
That's right. You actually don't have time not to bond.
Exactly. We're human beings. It's in our nature. And you prevent us from doing it, it's going to affect us.
That's right. And there's all kinds of evidence that like during the pandemic and people suffered in building and maintaining those relationships in silos, especially in larger organizations, really expanded because with people leaving, the bridges between the different areas of the company really got thin. And that sort of camaraderie is how you build bigger bridges so that you can break down the silos.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, as you said, that came to mind is for leadership, I never appreciated the value of being vulnerable. And I say this because 4 years ago, I decided to share during one of our wellness meetings, all staff meetings about wellness. I had myself and a few other people share about their personal stories. And I shared the fact that due to a car accident I had 15 years ago, I've been battling with anxiety for the last 15 years. And I've learned how to manage it and it has not hurt my career. And that the point was to share with people, I have anxiety, I've dealt with it, I'm dealing with it, and I will always deal with it at some level, but I know how to manage it and it's not impacted my career. And I wanted people to realize, don't think just because you're dealing with this that you can't be successful in what you're trying to achieve in life, because it's something that you can manage. And other people got up and talked about depression and different things they dealt with in the past. And that was a huge thing. And we were all very nervous as crap, I'll be honest, just starting to share that in front of 100 people. The wow factor and the we really saw the impact was when the pandemic hit and all of us were getting phone calls from different people saying, I think I'm dealing with this. How did you get over it? Or how? And I'm like, well, we didn't get over it. You start to recognize the signs and you get help and you have people that can support you. But you'll learn to be able to recognize it and prevent it from paralyzing you or having a panic attack. And it's something that you'll get there and you'll be okay. And it was one of those things where I just didn't appreciate that they felt that comfortable to call so many of us. Yeah. That really was the wow factor. And that was for them 3 years later, for them to remember, or 2 years later, for them to remember that and have, that's where, again, I saw the value of be vulnerable. It's not a sign of weakness. It's something that, if anything, you're proving to them, look, it hasn't hurt my career, even though I've had to deal with this. I shared one time all the famous people that have dealt with mental wellness in one of my presentations. Actually, it was the same one, actually. And there's 5 well-known people like Ryan Reynolds and Kate, I forget her name. There's a lot of famous people, Michael Phelps, that have spoken out about it and are dealing with it. Then I showed the actors and famous celebrities that had not spoken out and you didn't know about it until after they had passed away or committed suicide. Yeah. And that was like they felt scared to share it. They didn't feel comfortable to open up about it. And if you hold it in, that's the kind of message I want people to realize is that it's not something that you should be ashamed of. Let's get rid of that stigma and let's address it and help people get through it so that they can be successful, not have them suffer silently.
Definitely. And I think that there's really a trend to being more vulnerable. I was actually trying to schedule another episode and the person actually came back to me and said, I can't do that time because I'm going to psychotherapy. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's not something that you frequently get told, right?
No, not at all.
It's something that people keep fairly quiet. And it's okay. I love the fact that he felt comfortable enough to tell me that because he's owning it. And it's not something to be ashamed of. And it really does set the tone. It makes people feel safe to express when they themselves need help. That's a huge thing.
I'm so glad that we're all talking about it now because I see my children and their friends. I see how comfortable they are talking about it now. And that to me is so, because me and my friends, we definitely didn't talk about it. No. And you think about my background being Latino, Latino men did not talk about mental wellness. It was, oh, you just need a nap, you're fine. But it was, so seeing the young generation speak out so openly and accepting of it, that I think is just showing that we're going in the right direction.
That's right. And if there's anything good that comes out of the pandemic, that level of connectedness and that ability and willingness to ask for help when you need it, that's at least one positive thing you can point to. So that's great. I think that this has been a fabulous conversation. Is there something that we should have talked about that we didn't? Did you want to add anything?
No, I think we really enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate you asking me to join. It's been a pleasure. You're so easy to talk to, and I just enjoy talking about it. I can tell that you care about these topics, and the passion again does come through in your voice. And for me, obviously, I'm passionate about these topics as well. I think for me, it's just, I hope that people out there that are in leadership roles, if you're hearing this, I hope you do take note and realize that you can make an impact, whether you're the CFO, CEO, or just one of the leadership team members, or if you're a leader in just the company. You don't have to have a title of leader to be a leader. There are plenty of our leaders in our companies that are not having manager titles, but lead by example. But you can make an impact, and just don't stop trying, because I really believe sometimes people just need to realize, oh, let's try something different, and you'll see it might work. And if it doesn't work, like my CFO or CEO says, just fail fast.
Exactly. And honestly, that's what I was. I just started writing on LinkedIn because I knew I had something to add, but I never had the leadership title. And it was really that ability to role model what I was talking about that created huge opportunities for me to talk about it more. Exactly. I appreciate you joining, because you're like one of my ideal members for like my community. Like, you're the vision of the type of person I think that could really advocate for a community, and you already do it. So I look at you and I'm just like, you are like the person that I want. I appreciate
it. It's so kind of you to say. But again, that's the thing. What I think resonates with me with you is like what you say and what you do. I'm just passionate. I want to be connected with people like you, and I want to associate myself with people like you. You always say about negative people in your life, you want to disassociate yourself with negative people in your life. But I want to associate more with people like you. And then that's something that, because I think it makes you realize you're not alone about this passionate topic. It is important. And hearing a different perspective is always such a wonderful thing. I love hearing different perspectives. Oh, I didn't think about it from that point of view. And so I get energized by you. So thank you for thinking that I can provide some value here and for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, no, it's great. As I said, I created a community several months ago around the podcast. Just, I knew that there were people who were out there who wouldn't necessarily be able to work with like consulting services, but they still needed. And so part of the workshopping of community is to envision like your ideal member. And then like it's like I manifested you in my audio room. So anyways, I'll just leave you with that.
Everyone, I'm not real, everyone. I'm actually a hologram.
No, the best part is he's totally real. That's the good thing, right?
I love that. I've never heard anyone describe me like that. I love that. That's awesome. Thank you.
You could go home and tell your wife that. Anyway, we'll just wrap this up. So thank you.